I will bless your name.
Oh man, I got gas.
What kind of gas?
It's okay. Just kind of clench.
Ooh,
and no one else would know what that means.
Are we rolling?
No, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, we actually are rolling.
Come on. I like to see him get up. Look at this. I just gotta sit back there.
All right, let's go. All right, here we go.
3, 2, 1.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? Welcome back to another episode of the podcast room. I'm your boy, host, Quan.
You're the host for right now. I don't like confusion. That's one thing about me.
I'm the host for today.
Yeah, there we go.
It's your boy, Quan Williams. And today is going to be I think it's going to be a special one. To the right of me, I have the assistant pastor of the church, Pastor Emil Washington. To the far right, I have music director
Adrian Morrison.
Oh yeah, he wanted to introduce himself. I'm sorry, y'all. Go ahead, let him know what you do.
I'm a Levite here at Pilgrim Church.
Not a Levite.
How you by the grace and peace.
What's gonna be? And of course, behind the cameras, we got our content director, Malik.
What's up, y'all? I have a camera now.
Y'all give it up for the camera.
I do.
Give it up for the camera.
Last couple episodes, I ain't have a camera. I have a camera now.
Yes. So today, we are going to be
Can we start with here? I'm so sorry. Can we start with how are you all liking this podcast? Drop those comments. We want to hear from you all. Yeah. Let us know conversations y'all want to see us have. If you're interested in being a part of a conversation, it's harder than it looks, I think. So let us know. Drop that in the comments. We're going to read that. I'm sorry. Go back. Now back to the host.
As today's host, I was going to put that at the end, but it's cool.
Okay. We can do beginning and end.
Let's go. Here we go. Yeah, so today's conversation, we are going to be talking all things culture. That word gets thrown around a lot. Mm-hmm. It's almost like a buzzword to me, I think, the word culture, right? People say, do it for the culture, this for the culture, that for the culture. So today we're going to be talking about the importance of culture. But before we do that, right, let me read you the textbook definition. There's two.
All right, textbook.
The first definition is the arts and other manifestations of human intellectual achievement regarded collectively. That's number one. Okay. I can't even tell y'all what that meant, but it's cool. Now, the second definition says the customs, arts, social institutions, and achievements of a particular nation, people, or social group.
Yeah, I think that's the one.
That resonates.
I think that's the one we're going to circle, highlight, and we're going to start from there.
Well, I think that's the one people mean when they talk culture.
Yeah. Okay, so how important is culture? Let's go around the room with that first. How important is culture? We're not just talking church. We're not just talking one particular thing, but just in life, period. How important is culture to you?
I think culture is identity. It's how someone knows what you like. Mm-hmm. An important thing too is it's how people know why you do what you do. So I think for me, culture is all about identity. It tells you, tells people what to expect from you.
Yeah.
If they want to be connected to you.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I would land. I think that's what makes culture important to me is identity.
To me, culture is the components that make up an experience. For example, Malik was walking past the Samsung store and they had all white painted, and it looked like Apple. And he wanted to go inside the store because of the culture that was presented through the aesthetic of the actual store. So it's like having a very clean aesthetic. It's like the different things. Say if I'm a nice person and I'm always nice, people can kind of tell that's the culture that I bring to a room. That's the identity, as you said, that I bring to a room.
Yeah.
No, just trying to figure out why you chose that word.
I'm a nice person, y'all. So.
Yeah, cool.
Malik.
One more time the question.
Oh my God.
What does culture mean to you?
I think culture,
how important culture is to you as well.
I think culture is very important. It's how you recognize a group of people. You identify Black people with fried chicken, or that's a bad example.
That's a horrible example.
It's bad, but
is fried chicken a part of Black culture?
No,
it's not.
No.
So is that racist?
That's a stereotype. There are plenty of Black people who don't eat fried chicken.
Yeah, but overall, that's like a high blood pressure.
No, it don't say that. Yeah. You're gonna get us canceled before we get anywhere. Please forgive us, Black people. Fried chicken is not a part of your culture. It's something that you enjoy, something that you eat, but you are not identified by fried chicken.
No, not identified as fried chicken, but
identified as fried chicken is crazy.
Soul food in general is a part of our culture. Is that better?
Soul food, but not fried chicken.
Okay, that's fine.
The meaning behind soul
food is,
that's like saying, oh, you Black, you gotta like watermelon. That's not a culture. That's an offensive.
It's a stereotype. Yeah.
That's an offensive stereotype.
I see what you mean. So soul food.
Soul food is better. Okay.
I
think that's the end of my statement.
it's like I don't want to say nothing else.
I get what you mean.
Yeah. It's soul food.
Keep going.
Soul food is how we identify the African American community.
I don't think he wants you to say that.
I don't know what's politically correct.
I think you mean like it is a part of how people how we identify ourselves.
Yes.
Is also around something like soul food. I get what you're saying.
A commonality.
Yes. There we go.
Right. So with that being said, can culture be implemented anywhere? The church, the job, the home. Have you guys ever experienced good culture at an office space where it kind of made you want to come back to like, yo, you know what? I love working here because the culture is good. Traditions. Does the word tradition and culture, do they become synonymous? Talk to me about that.
I think that people almost kind of demonize the word tradition because they think traditions and they think just like hymns and old songs, but anything that you repeat is a tradition. So if I were to go to a church and all they wear is just jeans with rips in them, that's a tradition. So I think that can also lead up to being a culture of a trendy church, like a fashion forward church. But whatever you repeat and that becomes a part of the experience of your church or of wherever you go, I think that can contribute to your culture.
What'd you say, Pastor?
I think that so I'll say this. I worked at a company for 15 years and the culture was relevance, right? So that meant we were the first to do automated ATMs and we were the first to implement uniforms. We had all different varieties of uniforms. One of the things I loved about the corporation I worked for was every single place looked the same, but we had different people in it. Mm-hmm. So I think that's also important for culture is like there's something that connects everything that's saying they come from you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's great.
I did experience an interesting thing working there at that culture. It was a very a leadership forward place. They would never just put you someplace and not develop you. They would send you for training. That's a part of culture. Training, the way you're trained, all that stuff. So I where I came from, it was a very interesting culture, and a lot of my leadership qualities, I'll admit, they came from.
Yes, I was literally about to ask you that.
Yeah.
Did you bring any of that over into your experience as the youth pastor first? Because one of the things that I did admire you as the youth pastor, you curated a whole culture to where you saw the birth of others coming from you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Down to the way they dress, the shirts with the words on them, the sneakers. Everybody came in with dunks at some point. Everybody was wearing jeans. At one point, everybody had their hair up. Everybody, like, there was legit a culture that was birthed from you.
What does that mean?
No, it was a compliment, Malik. Relax. It was a compliment. So how important was bringing that from
I think you
where
have
you worked
to
over into?
I think you have to just commingle all of that. And I think I definitely did. One of the cultures that I brought from where I was we had a wow culture, meaning every customer, every client you interact with, your aim or your goal was to make them walk away with a wow. Like that was exceeding. We used to say exceeding expectation was one of the things. So that was one of the things that I used a lot when trying to develop what I wanted the youth department to look like. I wanted the lobby to be a certain way. Also, the lobby during youth services were reflective of me. Right. Anybody who knows me, candy is sort of a thing I do. So for the first couple of years, our lobbies were filled with candy. It was filled with decorations. It was filled with all types of stuff like that. So I think it's very important that culture also reflects who you are. And it tells you, like I said, identity, it tells you a lot about your personality. Like, are you an upbeat person? We can tell by the culture that comes out of you. My children represent a form of culture. You can tell the lifestyle I live at home, I believe, by how my children carry themselves.
I was going there next. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was going
like you ever see my children in church? Like they pay attention. They
crazy, isn't it?
The girls. Do you ever see the girls play that?
Yeah.
They clapped their hands.
One day Eva looked in the camera and was like,
Flesh. That's flesh.
and she looked right in the camera. I said, Eva, you know you're not rich, right?
But I think that what you said is very important, that you develop culture. It came from one singular person and it kind of spread out, because if you have, small little cultures or like different, no like commonality, is very confused.
Yeah.
But like culture uniforms a place, uniforms a people to like, yeah.
And it's a combination of experiences.
Yes, absolutely. It is.
Right?
That's what it is.
As you experience life, you pick up things that develop you and you add it to your culture. Yep. And I think when you are a leader or you're someone who doesn't have the experience of going places or connecting to other things, your culture is very limited.
Yep. Very.
Yeah. And I think that's what we're seeing now, especially in African-American churches. We're seeing a season of very limited culture.
Why do you think that is, though?
Because we think that if we adapt our culture, we dishonor the traditions of where we came.
That's good.
And I think that's we're afraid to say, hey, I like to wear sneakers. So if I wear sneakers and then all the young men connected to me wear sneakers, that we're somehow dishonoring those who wore cowboy boots before us.
And the truth is, real visionaries know how to curate culture, right? Because it takes a boldness. One of the things that I loved about Bishop Brown, he took his culture with him wherever he went. We used to go to churches, black and white. We would bring our furniture. We would bring our furniture to people's churches and literally decorate their churches so that way it became a full pilgrim experience.
Yeah.
Right? But the one thing that I knew he was for sure, he was a visionary. Right? And in order to curate culture, to cultivate culture, you really have to have a vision of it first. Yeah. And you have to have a real boldness too.
Yeah.
It's also one of the things that I admire about you. And now you, Adrian, right? When you stepping into the youth minister space, what are some of the things that you would like to implement?
I would like to implement. I guess I'll start here. I don't think that people acknowledge how scary it is to have the responsibility of curating a culture and creating a vision. I think, especially when it comes to succession, when you are inheriting a culture that's already that has a great foundation, it's not for me to bulldoze what's already there, but how can I build upon? And that's a scary thing when you've had a great person to follow behind. It's like, how do I, and it has, I would say, I'm in a season now where I'm testing how bold I can be to like really kind of embrace, to build upon something. Because the foundation is so good, but it takes a boldness and a courage to say, you know what, I have something too that I can build upon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think also, don't make the mistake of being distracted by what came before you.
Right.
Culture really is who you are. So should culture be that hard if you are in a constant understanding of who you are?
It's true.
It was easy for me to change, truthfully, and this is no shade. It was easy for me to change the culture of Fresh Fry because there wasn't a whole lot of culture there when I got there. Right. So it was easy though, because I knew what I liked. I knew what I wanted it to look like. Because I knew myself.
Right.
So I think one of the things that people need to understand is you raise your children, you build a culture of your house according to who you are. So in order to build proper culture, you got to know who you are. How do you know who you are? You find that in God. And the person who created you. So once you put yourself in God, it develops your identification and culture oozes from you. You wake up and you dress culture. You wake up and you talk culture because you're spending time with God and you're figuring out who you are. So I think sometimes we make the mistake of just like over honoring what came before us, and it distract us from changing things or adjusting.
Is that a problem? Like,
I don't know if over honoring is a word, but
over honoring isn't a word, but it's
honoring to the extent that we make that a memorial instead of like just like, you know what I mean? Like we kind of make it our like present thing instead of just saying that happened, it's a good thing and kind of moving on. But like, how about the people who are at the latter half of succession? Like, they are inheriting things and it's hard to build or kind of further a movement based off what was already done. Like for example, Bishop Brown has done so much. Pilgrim is like, you can almost say that Pilgrim Church is almost like Bishop Brown. Like he curated the culture here, but to then inherit that and make it your own, what do you say to those people who like have that huge problem of, also seeing vision when vision was already established? You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like although there was something there was a blank, almost like a blank canvas for you to just kind of like spew out whatever came out of you. But when something's already in place, that can be a little bit more difficult because, people are used to one thing, you're used to one thing, and to have the courage to hear God, to do what he says when, something's already been established.
I think I'll start by saying, I kind of go back to that word boldness, right? Like it takes a boldness to even begin to curate something that you can see, right? Because like when you have big shoes to fill, right, quote unquote, right, we have big shoes to fill, it can kind of become intimidating. But once you become okay with who you are, once you know who you are for sure, especially in God, right? God can then now literally direct your steps. He can literally direct your path for you. You know what I'm saying? With being who you are. Adrian, the musician, Adrian, the singer, Adrian, the guy that loves to cook. These are now things that you all now start to implement, you know what I'm saying, within the culture of the new Fresh Fire.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I would say, like, don't be afraid. And just to throw out there, you actually have a leader who literally pushes you to be yourself.
Not therapy session? Okay.
Yo, this guy. Man.
I think also be comfortable with the understanding that things are going to be different.
Yeah.
That every house is different. Every youth ministry, like the way I raise my children is not going to be the way Quan raised his son. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I respect because he raised his son according to how he grew up and what he understood, his experience. So I don't dishonor who Quan is by like, that's not the way I do things with my kids.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? I think we also make that mistake. It's like, I want what I think I need it to be the universal culture.
Right, yeah.
But that's offensive. It doesn't need to be that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be that way.
I agree.
Well, yeah. So, no, I'm not gonna go there. But I'll the importance of culture in the church, right? Me and Adrian would kind of having this conversation a little bit earlier. We stumbled across some very, 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 very informative things, right? And it basically, let me read one thing, right? I said I wasn't going to do this, but this thing really like stuck out to me, right? This guy, I can't remember his name. We'll probably come back in post, right? And probably like put his quote, put his name there, you know what I mean? So they know that this isn't me saying this. This is this great man saying this, right? He said, bad culture will consistently undermine an amazing mission, vision, and strategy. One, you as a leader, do you agree with that?
Yeah. But I would take the weight off of that and suggest that we take a moment to examine, right? culture comes from leadership. And I don't mean church leadership. You're the mother, you're the father in your home, you are the manager in your job. Culture comes from you. But we have to realize that wounded leaders, they breed wounded culture. So sometimes taking a moment to acknowledge where that leader has been broken, where that parent has been broken.
Let's talk about that.
Where that manager, you might have a manager right now who has been a manager for a day, has never been trained, took them forever to be promoted. So they're managing from their brokenness. They are building a culture in the office from their brokenness. We have fathers who didn't have fathers trying to be fathers. I'm trying to be a father from a broken culture of being a father. You know what I mean? So I think I understand the weight of culture on leadership, but I think you dishonor leadership when you don't take a moment to acknowledge their experience. You know what I mean? It took me a while. I hope to God that I'm being a good father. I guess time will tell as I raise my children, as I begin to continue to still pour into Adrian and them. But I learned, I'm trying to operate from what I saw. But I didn't have a father. So I didn't necessarily have the example that I wanted to have. You know what I mean? But it's a learning curve.
It is.
And we don't acknowledge that enough. Is if a culture is broke, it absolutely came from a leader
who was bleeding,
who was broken,
who
was bleeding, who may have felt unheard their entire life, who may be struggling with insecurities or their own issues, right? But here we are, build culture. How about we heal first?
Yeah.
But I think that is a part of things that people don't acknowledge, because you have to have the courage to recognize that there's an injury. I'm bleeding on sheep. I'm bleeding on people. And I have to figure out a way or a strategy to heal myself first. Because bleeding sheep, I can't shepherd that. That's like just the opposite way that it should be. So how do you encourage people to find the wound, heal the wound, and be honest about the wound so that they're not bleeding all over sheep or kind of bleeding all over their family or wherever their leader?
I think that's also a part of culture. Developing a culture where you can bleed in public. No, but bleed where bleeding is okay.
I like where you're going with this.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Where so like if the pastor is bleeding, if he's hurt, if he's feeling insecure, that the culture of the house is, or we cover the leader, or we find a therapist for the leader, or we send the leader on vacation, where they can have time to recuperate or to get back to wherever they, whatever they need.
Yeah,
basically.
I think having a good team, and like you said, having a culture that it's okay to be honest about whatever's happening, your weakness or whatever. I don't think it's okay to bleed over your people, to preach or to father or to mother or to be a manager, and you're leading from a position of hurt. Don't do that. Be honest about where you are and say, hey, I'm not okay. I can't do my job effectively while I'm bleeding. And I think a lot of leaders, mothers, fathers, whatever you're doing, they're not being honest enough, and they are growing their children bleeding, and then their children are a direct correlation to how they've bled, if that makes sense. And I think that we're seeing the result of a lot of bleeding children because they were bled into, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I think blood is a part of our culture.
Okay.
Because as believers, we follow the example of Christ. He was our culture leader, and he had this thing where he bled.
Searches around this now?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He bled. So that was his culture. But the problem is the strength comes on when you understand why he bled. He bled so that you could have this little thing called eternal life.
You know I'm going to it now.
So there's a reason behind your bleeding, but we don't take the time to acknowledge. We judge leaders for bleeding, but don't take the time to acknowledge that there's a reason they're bleeding. I follow Christ, and there was a reason he bled. You know what I mean?
And I think also that Christ also prepared the people who were around him that he would bleed.
Yeah.
I think that leaders now, they're just kind of like pushing that on people. Like, hey, I'm not okay, but I'm gonna do this anyway.
That's good,
I've been doing it for so long, and I think that you have to have a team. Have a team around you that you can be safe with and say, hey, like I am not going to be okay this next month. I need someone to step in. Or if you're a father, tell your spouse or whatever, your wife, I'm not going to be at 100%. Can you cover the other 50%? Like, I already know that this week is not going to be good for me. You have to have a trusted circle around you that you can bleed safely.
Yeah. Which also goes into the power of a team.
Yes.
As a leader, you get to choose who you can trust with, hey, this is not going to be an okay week for me.
Yep.
Like, can you fill in the gap? You have the power to handpick the individuals that surround you, that protect you, that cover you, supposed to cover you.
Yeah. And that's a careful choice you have to make. Not everyone can be trusted with the nakedness of a leader.
No.
You know what I mean? But also that comes from, and you both are saying it, you have to have good communication skills.
Yeah.
Not only as a leader, but as a team. Because what if the leader doesn't have the strength to say, hey, I need help. But you see me needing help and you go, hey, Pastor, something is, hey, Dad, I've seen you a little bit more sad this week. Is there something I can do? We don't communicate with each other.
Yeah, very true.
We don't communicate with each other. So in order to build good culture, I would say, without a doubt, have God as ultimate, because that grounds you, that keeps you covered, but also build communication. All culture comes from leadership. Leadership is submitted to Christ. He is ultimate in our life. But then we now have to build communication. And you have to be clear, right? One of the things I'm always getting him about is I don't feel like you articulate what you mean very well, right? So you got to be clear. What that comes from is how do you rectify that? You practice in the mirror, right? I do a lot of writing. If you saw my notebooks, you'd be like, "Yo, this guy's crazy." But I write out everything that I'm feeling, that I'm thinking. So by the time I articulate it, it's gone through some type of filtering process.
Gotcha.
Right? Leaders don't speak before they think. That's just my understanding of leader. And if you think that I'm a leader that is speaking before I think, then you really don't know me. You don't know my thoughts.
Overthinking, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I am an overthinker. And any conversation I've had with you, it's because I've already thought through what I want to say to you. And that's just the truth.
Yeah, that is the truth.
So really right now, for those of you who are listening, right, you want to build culture. Building culture is a way we do things. A healthy culture. Keep God, put God, and keep God ultimate. But let's work on our communication skills.
Yes.
And then take it from there, I think.
Take it from there. I like that.
Why do we have such bad communication skills?
I think for us,
do anyone in here think they're a bad communicator?
I have traits of that,
Yes. I don't mean yes for me, I mean yes for him. There are times where I've said to myself, you could have communicated that a little bit better. Because but what stops you from communicating?
Thinking about others' feelings first. Right? Because sometimes my first thoughts are not always the best ones, right? So I would tend to pull back and go, oh, okay, cool, no problem.
Yeah. But how does your pullback hurt culture?
Hurts it a lot, because then I go to myself, man, I knew I should have said something. When I see something happen, I go, man, had I would have said this, then that probably wouldn't even transpire. Or had I would have just spoken up in this instance, this could have been this way by now. You know what I mean? And that's what led me to like start to work on my communication more, or to even just speak up more, right? Because as a curator myself, right, as a visionary, when you don't speak up, sometimes it can hurt everybody in the long run.
I can't tell you how many times that I have left conversations, left rehearsals, whatever it is. I'm like, I should have said exactly what was on my mind, because me being afraid to say injures what I'm trying to build, and I don't realize that until after I'm in the moment.
I think we just had a breakthrough, y'all. I think we just had a breakthrough, y'all.
I just think that you have to love the vision enough to be honest and communicate that fully. And sometimes that means filtering it through, whether you write it down, whether you have a team to talk it through, or if you have a mentor to kind of filter that thing through. Because when you love something enough, you won't just put anything out.
I think also, before you even filter it through a team, have some type of idea about what, because when, and this is just me, I think this might just be me. By the time I come to a table, I have it already in my mind, my heart, what I want to happen. Because what happens if I show up to the table and go, I think I want to do, what happens is I'm now building a culture of uncertainty at the table.
So true.
Yeah, I like
everybody, what happens is everybody now at the table is trying to shape it, and it doesn't, no, it no longer looks like what I want it to look like. It looks like, and when you're a leader, the vision is yours.
Yeah.
The support is theirs, but the vision is yours. And we can't trade vision for support.
No, we can't. And that's important too with handpicking the team too, right? Because you have to handpick your weaknesses. I may have the vision, but I may not know how to execute in this area.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Adrian, you know what? Let me pull you in, right? Because I want to start doing this sing-along thing real quick. I know I don't know how to teach parts, none of that type of stuff, right? So you know what? Let me go get somebody on the team who I can trust with the vision, who I can trust what my vision is, just to execute that part of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think a lot of times that's where our people lack.
Absolutely.
Is
absolutely
picking the right people, picking the right supporting cast when you're the visionary, right? Because when you have the right supporting cast, you don't have to worry about somebody getting in your ear telling you the wrong thing. You don't have to worry about somebody trying to take the vision and going off on it, you know what I mean? Like running off on it with their own and basically trying to turn it into their own thing.
That is so offensive to me. Yeah. That I'm here. I mean, I'm not making it personal, but I'm just saying, like, for people to like be helping, and you trying to make it feel like the person who is helping is trying to make something theirs because they are exhausting their strength with helping what you said do. Yeah. That is so offensive to me. It would be like me needing help from my wife, and then when she helps, I'm so angry because she's helping me more than I thought she could.
There are people out there like that.
I'm sure.
That's ridiculous.
There are people out there like that. It's kind of crazy, right? That's almost like insanity a little bit, right? To ask for the help, you get the help, and then get mad that you got more than you even asked for. It's kind of an insane thing, but there are actually people out there.
Sure. Because it's a matter of being intimidated.
Yeah.
I'm intimidated at the idea that someone can do something better than me.
And how much leaders are intimidated, and that puts a brick wall in front of the forward movement of vision and culture. Like, they're so intimidated by the people who they've put in place that you limit how far your church or your house or your store can go, because you're saying, oh, they're actually pretty good at that. I don't want them to be good, so I'm going to kind of like try to minimize them. But what you don't realize that you're doing is that you are slowing the progress of the vision in wherever you are by doing that.
But that means, that would say to me that your vision isn't bigger than you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, your vision is not kingdom.
Yep.
Your vision is selfish.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good. That's
because
good.
a real visionary, right, brings things to the table that helps everybody evolve.
Yeah.
It's not just you.
That part,
that's literally what it is.
That's a whole separate podcast, because that's the thing I'm always stuck on is you can be a great preacher, but if you don't have great preachers being birthed out of you,
what are you doing?
The culture, the vision, it's all about you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what one of the things about being a parent, right? Is we parent so that our children can be greater than us.
Soar, baby.
And that has to happen. We don't parent, or we don't lead with the thought of, I hope you never get bigger than me. Right? I understood that when I pulled Adrian, I'm like, yo, I don't sing.
Yes.
I want you to do this. And then I pushed him to be greater
absolutely
in that area than me. And when you realize this is about being confident in God, right? That no matter how big Adrian gets, I'll still be the greatest version of myself.
Absolutely.
Right?
No comparison.
No comparison. Yeah, that's a true thing right there.
Why did you start
on purpose?
Malik?
On purpose.
Which camera we at? That's a true thing.
But that's what you've done, is like you've always tried to push us to be the best version of whatever sphere that we're in. Like
for everyone at the table.
Yeah, for everyone at the table, yeah.
I've always said that I want you all to bring your businesses to this table so that I can push and spotlight and show people that you have these businesses.
Yeah.
It was never about me. And I think that's why I've been so content with what I produced, because I've never made it about myself, regardless of what the rumor is about me. I have never made ministry about myself. I've never, because I love God too much.
Yeah.
I love God too much to steal the credit from kingdom. I really do.
Love him. It's about him.
It's always about him.
Yeah.
it's always about him, and with him, it's always about his people.
Yes.
Woo.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's a real thing of
a record that
was really good.
When you're no, it's the truth though. When you're a real leader, when you're a real visionary, right? Back to the culture conversation, right? It's born leaders do it without even like really knowing that they're doing it, right? He was just being him.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. He was being him, but he came in with a managerial background. He came in with a systemic background. You understand what I'm saying? So he knew how to put systems in place. He knew how to gather people around the table. He knew how to motivate people.
Was married and had children.
Yeah.
These are all systems. These are all cultures, experiences that I was able to put into a pot, stir it together, and produce.
Can I speak on behalf of like the growing leaders? So like, how do you say if you don't have any of those experiences to draw from, right? And I know if you have a relationship with God, that can kind of teach you how to steward something, because he is like, you kind of steward that relationship. But how do you create that experience in whatever sphere of influence that you have if you don't have that those different things to pull from?
See, but you just did it though. You made the mistake of comparing.
Okay.
You may not have a husband experience or a father, but what about you spent majority of your life in school? So you've had different experiences with different teachers. Was there anything that a teacher did, a way a teacher ran their classroom that you can pull from? Right. What about you grew up in a house with a mother, you've had aunts or cousins, or is there anything that you saw in them, if you ever had a job, or if you've ever watched a single program on TV that resonated with you? That's experience. You pull that into culture.
It's about pulling from your personal experience.
Your own personal experience.
Yeah. That's how you become, to me, that's how you become a greater leader.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not just about your experiences, right? It's what you've learned from them experiences. Yeah. How can I now implement what I've learned in these times, right? With these people, with my team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like what did this situation teach me? How did I grow from this situation? Right? And this is how you become a greater leader. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you don't want to make the mistake.
If that's something you want to become too, because like, I think a lot of times what's capped the generation before us is there's no need to become a greater leader. Man. That's why some of them are still in place, because there's no need to do anything different or bigger or better.
I have everything I need right here.
Everything I need is right here. It's already set. Maybe there isn't anything else. They have capped themselves. I guarantee you, every leader who is over expiration is because they didn't take the time to say, what else could I do?
Man.
Right. When I tell you, I fought God so much about turning over the youth department, because I was like, I'm still good at it. I'm still passionate about it. I love the young people. They are committed. They are tied to me. I was like, still, I need you to move, because if you don't move, they don't grow.
Yeah.
They don't develop into what they need to be if you don't get out the way.
Yeah.
And even now, I'm still in the season where I'm trying to figure out, okay, I know why you told me to move for them, but why did you tell me to move for me?
Man.
What is it doing for me?
And that's the second, this would be the second phase of your growth now, right? Because you did,
I guess, yeah.
You did what, 8 years?
Yeah.
Right? Right? You did an 8-year bid, we would say, right? Within that
8-year bid is exactly how
you did a full 8 years, right? But in that 8 years, you've taken and you shaped something what some would take years, like years and years to do.
I believe that.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? You built your own team, right? Which actually helped shape, right, and grow them, right? I look at all of them now, right? They're all within their proper places, right? And then there was a generation under you that was watching you, who now, that's who you got out the way for, right? Yeah. But now you got to let God now, okay, God is going to deal with them while he's dealing with you too, because you had to move out the way because there's still more for you.
What I also admire about Pastor, and not to, just put him on the spot.
Oh, you like it.
But I think that he's kind of leaning into the comfortability of the uncertainty of obedience. It's like,
that's so good.
I have to be comfortable in obeying God and not being certain. Like when God told Abraham, hey, I need you to take your son and I need you to sacrifice him. It was uncertain, but I'm obeying God so much. I have to be uncomfortable in not being like sure of what is next for me. But all I know is I'm obeying God.
We shifting
That's
here.
so good, bro,
we shifting here.
Yeah.
What did his son represent? His son represented his future.
Yeah.
He was willing, Holy Ghost, thank you, God. He was willing to sacrifice future as long as it put him in obedience with God's word. And that's so powerful. And that's so heavy. Is how many of you are willing to sacrifice something you love if it puts you in the right obedience place with God. It's difficult and it doesn't feel good. I think I've preached that text before, and I've always preached, what about that moment as he's going up the mountain and his son starts talking to him?
Man.
Hey, where are we going? Where are we doing?
And him knowing already.
And knowing that he has to kill him.
What you're trying to kill starts talking back to you.
That's a movie.
But the end of the story is
that's a movie.
There was a ram in the bush.
Yeah.
And there's always a ram in the bush if you can obey.
And also wait to find out what you obeyed.
I'm about to say I'm still waiting.
Anyhow, come on.
So no.
I'm still waiting on my ram. I see the bush.
So that
ain't no ram.
ain't no. I see the bush. Ain't no ram.
Oh man, I sympathize with people who just might be feeling like there's more to them than where they are.
Yeah.
Man, that thing resonates so much with me because it's like, not that I'm not being effective, but it's just something that it means more when you feel like you're operating
in purpose.
In a purpose place.
In current purpose.
Yeah, man.
Current purpose hasn't changed, I don't think, but current assignment. Your purpose is always going to be what it is from the day you were born, but to be
assignment
operating
changes.
in your right.
The assignment changes.
I think people think that just because they're in a position that's also their purpose. My title is not my position. I mean, is not my purpose.
Yeah.
So it's like I think people have to be comfortable with maybe changing seats, but that doesn't mean that my purpose is different.
That's right.
I think realizing too, purpose doesn't change, but the wrapping. I just heard Joseph Walker say this: the wrapping of it changes. It could be the same gift, but you're wrapping it for different seasons. You're wrapping it for different places. You're wrapping it according to different experiences. So your wrapping changes, but your gift is still the same.
Man,
why he designed you to be here is still here.
Why I designed you to be here.
And everyone who feels like there is no design, how can I produce culture? There's no design for my life. There is absolutely a design for your life. And to every single person who is feeling empty, who is feeling lost, who is feeling like there is nothing more for you to do, the devil is a liar.
Yeah.
There is purpose. There is assignment. There is so much more to you. There is culture waiting to be birthed out of you.
Whew. And right there, I think we can end right there, to be honest with you.
No, that's good.
Because that pretty much put the nail in the coffin for me.
Yeah.
So thank you to everybody who's watching. Please like, comment, share. Let us know what you thought about this episode.
Yeah, man.
We could still go on.
Yeah.
We could still go on.
We probably
a little
will.
bit longer.
You probably will.
We probably will sit here for another 20 minutes talking.
But yeah, y'all share this, like this. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought about this. If you have any questions, we'll be checking. And till next time.
Also hit the notification bell so you're notified every time we drop a new.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. I'm still new to this host thing. I'm sorry. So yeah, what he said, right? And we will see you next time.
Peace.
Yes, sir.
Y'all too churchy for me.